Hello and welcome to Will Watches. This is Moon Knight episode 5. So we're at the penultimate episode. It seems like the majority of this episode will take place in this realm that we're in. I'm pretty sure it's like the subconscious of Mark and Steven. So I'm imagining most of the episode will take place here, where it's like this insane asylum, right? And by the end of the episode, they'll have to work together to kind of break out of here. They have to overcome their differences, work together. Maybe something like coming to terms with this third personality as well, which I know the name now is Jake Lockley. I've seen like some tweets and things about him. So there's the third personality, Jake, who seems much more violent. So I'm really hoping we get to see him. So I feel like most of this episode will be exploring this, and it'll be a very kind of character-focused exploration of Mark and Steven and maybe Jake a bit. I'm imagining either Jake will be released this episode, or he'll be released like right at the end, or they'll break out and go back to the real world right at the end of this. So before we jump in, be sure to check out the Patreon. Over there you can find a full-length timer-based version of this, where you can just sync up your own footage. You can also find polls so you can vote for what's next, and you can find early access to shows that aren't currently airing. So yeah, let's just jump right in. Oh yeah, and there's this hippo god as well. I'm forgetting the name, but I learned that the hippo god is like the god of like motherhood or something.
Surveys the whole of our lives. That's right.
And then Amit, I do think it's kind of inevitable that Amit gets unleashed now. And I'm imagining probably this episode, and then next episode is like resealing Amit. Oh, is this a backstory or back in the real world?
You're
Oh, is that his mother?
Your mind is violently vacillating between.
Look how much blood is over him now. He's all bruised up. What's happened there? So the hippo god is the god of motherhood, and then he just saw his mum there. So are we delving into his trauma, how his dissociative identity disorder came about?
You told me that you were in a place that was oddly reminiscent of this office, except that it was in Egypt, right? And that you were with a rhinoceros and You're right. You're right. It was.
So he's trying to like gaslight him into thinking that that was in his head, the hippo.
Do you think that is sense?
Obviously, he doesn't know how he got here because this whole realm is kind of made up outside of time.
The struggling mind will often build places to seek shelter for different aspects of the self from our most traumatic memories.
So does he have to kind of face his own trauma in order to get out of here? Yeah.
Really great. I mean, they must pay you a lot of money in this place. You're really great. I tell you what, I feel like $1 million. Never felt so good.
It seemed like a kind of different accent there.
I'm afraid you are actually quite dead.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, is this like an afterlife? Like a purgatory kind of thing? Is this kind of the first afterlife we've seen in the MCU? Because I know hell is a thing in like the 4 comics, but we never actually see it, and no one's ever actually like come back from hell, have they?
Welcome, gentle traveler.
The CGI for this hippo character is really good.
This is Taweret, goddess of women and children.
Goddess of women and children.
Is the afterlife the afterlife?
An afterlife, not the afterlife.
And afterlife, okay. So that explains why there can be like multiple different interpretations. The ancestral plane, yeah, name drop that as well.
Wait, I'm sorry. Okay, so.
I love how her ears kind of flatter when she's excited.
Oh man, Dr. Harrow's right. Dr. Harrow. This is an organizing principle.
Okay, so it's only Mark who's seeing Dr. Harrow. Steven isn't aware of that.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Okay, this is why it was swaying back and forth earlier when the lights were swaying. Ooh. Their hearts, taking their hearts. It looked like there was a statue of Amit, and then there's some scales there. So, the scales of justice and the feather of truth.
If the scales balance by the time you end the journey, then a soul is permitted to pass into the field of reeds.
What if they don't balance?
You get thrown overboard. Whee!
The dead will drag you down into the duat, where you will remain forever, frozen in sand.
So there must be a way for them to return from this, right?
Fellas?
Yeah, it's still kind of undecided because Amit couldn't cast judgment
It's the hearts. They aren't full.
because they complete each other. Is it because Jake isn't there? You know, they're both kind of half a soul at the moment. They're missing the final piece of their soul.
And knowing her, she'll go on a suicide mission to stop Harrow herself. Well, that means we better hurry, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess it depends if this is happening outside of time. If they wake back up, will they wake straight back up? Or will they wake up and time's passed?
I don't know about you, but my memories are a frickin' mess. Yeah.
So they're gonna, it's kind of like a kind of Scrooge thing or something. They're going back through the past, going through their memories, and covering the truth. Like a therapy session through their memories.
Oi, what's this? Steve, what are we gonna do here? We're gonna, like, revisit every single memory I've ever had?
These must all be significant ones.
Did you hear that?
Steven's kind of too innocent, isn't he?
What, do you know these people? No. Oh, no. Surely not.
These are all people that he's killed.
And you remember each person. You tried taking a life. See how quickly you forget.
Oh, it looked like the scales were affected a bit there.
Who's that?
Is this them as a kid? Or did he kill a kid? This was the boy that was screaming. I think this is like his past self. Like a past self that he's killed, maybe?
Open the door! Open the door!
Yeah, he's got to face his demons, doesn't he?
Mark, be nice to your little brother.
I had a brother.
So his little he killed his little brother, maybe?
Can you hear that, Dr. Grant? I sure do, Rosa. Sounds to me like danger.
Yeah, that's where he developed his personality from. The Stephen Grant personality is like locked away in his childhood.
Oh, no. Lads!
Stephen's kind of remembering.
Out of here! Boys!
So they went while it's raining and slipped or something, and their mum said not to go when it's raining, but they went anyway.
Follow my voice! Boys! Boys! I hear you, Mom!
Is that the funeral or something? And the mum's obviously traumatized by it all.
I want him back. What are you doing here?
Yeah, she blames him, takes the anger out on him.
You were supposed to keep him safe.
Stephen, let's go.
And this is where the whole thing started, the trauma all started.
This is all your fault!
Wendy, please. We're just about to blow out the candles now.
Yeah, she doesn't even talk to him anymore.
Can't have a birthday without your favorite cake. Get started on these.
You're always jealous of him. Ever since he was...
And she's drunk, unleashing on him, taking it out on him again.
I should have known you would do something like this.
Mom, what are you doing?
Yeah, so it's all kind of the mum's doing. Obviously she was grieving, but this is over multiple years of abuse after it actually happened.
I cannot lose another son. Please. Where the hell are we now?
Is this as the mercenary when he killed the people?
Didn't have a ton of options after that, so I went work for hire for my old CO Bushman. The job was to raid an Egyptian tomb.
Bushman, he's like a character from the comics, right?
Doctor and Fooley, Layla's dad. What happened to you?
Yeah, and this is where Khonshu gave him the powers, so he was injured and Khonshu healed him. You know, did Khonshu kind of use that he was in this position, kind of abuse that to heal him and like make this deal? Like he obviously wasn't in a good place when he made this deal with Khonshu, was he?
Do you want death? Or do you want life? Your mind. I feel it.
The mind was already fractured when this happened.
He was manipulating you from the start.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark, he was taking advantage of you.
And bring my vengeance to those who would do them harm.
Yeah. Look. The scales.
Yeah, they're fixing themselves. But it's not quite there yet, it looks like.
Rise and live again. As my fist of vengeance. As my Moon Knight.
Oh, that was great. Guessing the name drop. I got chills with that.
Unbalanced souls are being judged and condemned to the sands before their time. Oh, this is bad. This is evil.
Because amidst being unleashed, all of the souls are being judged before their time.
You'd just be returning to a body with a bullet in it. You wouldn't be able to heal.
Can you send word to Layla? Please help us free Khonshu.
Are you sure you want to be with...
Yeah, if Khonshu can be freed, then they can return and be healed. The suit heals them.
Cyrus is not going to like this, but his gate is the only path back.
Is Osiris, who was like the one who was kind of in control, all in charge earlier, who was like the head of the meeting that they had before?
Stop.
Oh, back here. Does Stephen have his own version of this, or is it only Mark? Because Mark is like the original personality.
You think you created Stephen to hide from all the awful things you feel you've done in your life? Or do you think Stephen created Mark to punish the world for what your mother did to you?
Who was the original? I think Mark created Stephen to kind of hide away from his past. As Stephen, he fabricated this perfect mother, didn't he?
This is my room. I remember some things, but I don't remember this.
Yeah, there's a reflection there. Is this when he like fabricated the Stephen personality?
Bloody hell. Look at the state of this place.
Yeah, that's when it first happened.
Open the door right now!
And there's scales there, and then, yeah.
Stephen Grant has no fear.
He got the name from there.
Why do you have to make him do
I want to
this?
see what she did. I want to see what she did.
Disgusting.
You're not meant to see that. You're not meant to see that. That's the whole point of you.
Yeah, Stephen was created to hide away from it.
A happy, simple, normal life. You understand?
But it was all a lie, wasn't it?
So what?
Yeah, what's better, like the ignorance and the lie, or the hurt and the truth?
Let me out, 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 let me out.
And this is Stephen. He's talking to Stephen now.
It's very Ned Flanders.
You say that again. My mother is alive. You say that again, I will freak out, I promise.
You don't have a number, do you?
Yeah, we have it on file.
Yeah, because he never actually speaks, so he just leaves voice messages for her.
He's here. He'd like to speak with you. Stephen, would you like to speak to your mother?
What's she gonna say though? Is she gonna like berate him, or is she gonna be really lovely, or is she gonna say like, "Yeah, I'm dead"?
I'm almost dead.
Finally getting the closure for that. Things are definitely starting to balance now, right? And they are actually like confirming his Jewishness here. I'm not sure what they're called, the hats, but he has one on. Or does he kind of renounce his faith from that point on? I don't know if Stephen knows that he's Jewish, you know?
I am totally lost again. I don't know where I am. What an absolute muppet.
He's in New York this time. Yeah, there's the yellow taxi.
Mom's death in Shiva 2 months ago. This was the moment our lives started bleeding into each other.
It was only 2 months ago. Okay. I thought it would have been longer than that.
All those horrible things that she said to you, she was wrong. It wasn't your fault. I shouldn't have brought him in that cave. I shouldn't have brought him in the cave.
I'm worried that Stephen is a consequence of his personality disorder, and if things come to a head and Mark fully like reconciles with everything that happened and is fully healed, then he'll be healed of his disease and Stephen will disappear, right?
Your scales never balanced. Our journey's come to an end. I cannot stop the inevitable.
Can they still balance it in the nick of time somehow?
Not very friendly. Hi. Hi.
At least Mark's good at fighting, he can fight them off.
We've got this. What if I'm you?
Then Stephen's got it too, yeah.
I prefer cricket.
Oh yeah, cricket. I was thinking, why is he saying 6? Ooh. Oh, Stephen's dragged off the edge.
Stephen! Stephen!
What does this mean for him though? There's no way Stephen's dead. Oh, and now it's balanced. But the balance just means he goes to like the kind of heaven, the field of the reeds. It doesn't mean that he goes back to the overworld. Is he gonna end here on this cliffhanger? Okay, so that was Moon Knight episode 5, a real deep dive into Mark and Stephen's psyche, which was exactly what I was hoping for here. It's kind of playing on this trope of the therapy session through your memories, like with Scrooge and the Ghost of Christmas Past, and like with Attack on Titan and Memories of the Future. It's a trope that's really good, really effective, of just like really delving deep into the character's mind and their psyche and everything they've gone through, reliving all of these traumatic moments, discovering where all of this trauma kind of came from, you know? This episode we see the creation of Stephen and possibly the death. I don't really think they would kill Stephen's personality off just because he's kind of the main character, right? Even though Mark and Stephen are technically like the same character, Stephen is like the main character that we've followed the story through with. So I don't think he'll be killed off. Possibly Layla is somehow working up in the real world. She's working to resurrect Khonshu so that Mark and Stephen can come back and they can be healed, because they'd be healed from the bullet if they came back into their body, right? Because if they just went back without Khonshu also being freed, they'd go back to and just bleed out and die again, I guess. So something needs to happen on the Khonshu side. Khonshu needs to be reawakened. So there's quite a lot that needs to happen in the next episode, I guess. We need to have Layla free Khonshu, Mark and Stephen to return, and then for them to stop Arthur, because Arthur has like freed Amit now, right? That was kind of hinted that we saw all of these souls kind of coming down that were judged too early, and that seems like that's Amit being freed. That doesn't seem like that's just Arthur judging people with his cane. It seems like larger scale than that, right? So there have already been some casualties of this, and I am wondering how they will free Khonshu. I feel like maybe Layla has to like go and break that statue, but that statue is like in the gods' realm, I guess, right? Because Osiris, who is the one who's like collecting them all, and we don't know if Osiris is kind of working with Amit. That's kind of my running theory at the moment, but that might not necessarily be true. But he does have this collection of gods that have like worked against him, doesn't he? And then there was the hippo god here, Tawait, and she is the god of like motherhood. It was like mother and child, which makes perfect sense for her to be the one guiding Stephen and Mark through all of this, reliving their trauma with their mother. And I think I really liked the CGI on her. She looked really good. I don't think this show necessarily has the best CGI. I think a lot of the green screen here was quite noticeable, but on her character design and on Khonshu, both of the CGI there have been pretty good. And if Amit is free next episode, maybe we'll see Amit as well. So it seems like the gods have been quite good, but some of the backgrounds and the green screen hasn't been that great. But yeah, this episode, it was just really emotional and effective, seeing all of this trauma that the mum has passed on onto him. You know, you can kind of understand why she would be mad at him, but after so many years, it just kept going and going. Like, being like immediately mad. It makes sense because you're grieving and you're processing all of these emotions, but it seems like she never really got over it and was always blaming Mark. It wasn't just like a one-off lashing out. It was consistent throughout all of these years until her death, essentially. And we see like when he's older, he's like college age and is running off, and his dad was saying we can't afford to lose another son, but he kind of had to get out of that toxic household at that point, right? I am surprised that we still haven't got anything from Jake this episode, because I thought they wouldn't have been able to balance the scales without at least mentioning Jake, unless Jake is like a secret to Mark as well, because I did think that Jake was the one who had killed all these people, killed Layla's dad, and then Mark had just said it was his partner, but it was actually his partner, the Bushman. He's like a comic character, right? That is part of Mark's origin. So it wasn't actually Jake who did that. So, but Jake is still like locked up, but the souls did eventually balance anyway. So there's not a lot of time for Jake to actually show up now. So I think maybe that could be like a tease at the end for like a potential season 2 or like an end credit scene. That's what it will be, because the Jake stuff has only been teased a little bit, right? I think this episode might be the best episode of all of the Disney Plus shows. I think episode 5 of Loki and episode 4 and 5 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier are still up there, but this was really, really good. Oscar Isaac's performance here was really amazing. He really nailed this, and he's so convincing as the two personalities. You kind of forget that it's the same actor. Like, he's acting against himself, but they just work so well. It's flawless, really. So you do really have to give a lot of props to Oscar Isaac. He really carries this show, and this episode was just so full of emotion. There was so many great moments. The moment when he's resurrected as the Moon Knight and Khonshu like title drops, that moment was great. And then when we learn what happened and just all of these traumatic moments, reliving them, Oscar Isaac's performance when it's like breaking down, it was all just so good. This is definitely a top contender for one of the best episodes out of the Disney Plus shows. So yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks for watching. Bye.